They say, well, there's lots of job opportunities in Canada and stuff like that. When I got the job, it wasn't a knock that would give me the Canadian experience.
Even if you're not going to go into it immediately, do something that's going to complement what you already have. Do something that's going to be useful to you, because it's thousands of dollars. It's thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars.
Literally.
Yeah.
Did Canada meet your expectations? Okay, we are back with Khadidra, and we are now going to talk about how it was for her finding a job in Canada, because we know that she couldn't go into her field, which is nursing. If you haven't seen that episode, please go and watch episode number 3 to find out what her process was like to get into a regulated profession, and that was nursing. We are going to go into what did she do in the meanwhile, because it took her 2.5 years to get licensed as a nurse. Welcome to As Told by Canadian Immigrants. If this is the first time you're seeing me, I'm Christina. I'm a Canadian immigrant from Jamaica, and I've been here for almost 10 years, and I help people understand the Canadian immigration system with helpful videos like this. We are going to now talk about, okay, you couldn't get into nursing, you kind of had to accept that, but that's okay because she became a permanent resident, and a year and 10 months after having been in Canada through the Federal Skilled Worker Program through Express Entry. Even though she went to school in Canada and worked in Canada, she got in through her experience and her education from her home country. So that's good. If you don't know, watch the previous episode. So you came and you studied at how do you say the word?
Gerontology.
Gerontology. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what she studied. And so you're finished school and you are able to work. That's not a regulated profession. It's kind of like a PSW.
Similar to a PSW. So basically, honestly, the degree don't really do nothing much. It just like kind of complements, or like say if I already had the nursing and I did the postgrad and I wanted to work like long-term care.
Okay.
So gerontology is basically like caring for older adults.
Yes.
So then it would kind of complement that, and I could go into like, okay, community care or long-term care and stuff like that. But by itself, without being licensed, it pretty much does nothing.
And it's
being honest.
And that's good. And I want people to take that as a kind of note to self, because somebody I know was just about to do a program, a PSW program. She doesn't want to be a PSW. She has no interest in being a PSW. She wants to get more into tech, which is like the other
end of the
spectrum. Very different. Okay. But you're doing it for the sake of the mission.
Yes.
And I want to caution people on that, just because it worked out for her, because it did complement what she already had. So she did nursing and you did that gerontology, and it works well together because it's a similar field, industry, all of that stuff. But I don't necessarily recommend to anybody to just go to school to do whatever for the sake of PR. Because one, you're spending a lot of money to do it. It might as well be worth it. I mean, depending on how you look at it, you can be looking at it as, okay, well, I'm paying for PR, I guess. But like, do something that is going to benefit you, your overall life mission in terms of your career goals. Even if you're not going to go into it immediately, do something that's going to complement what you already have. Do something that's going to be useful to you, because it's thousands of dollars. It's thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars.
Literally. Right? So I studied, my background architecture, then I studied project management, and it works well together. And I happen to like project management more than I like architecture, even though it sounds fancier. Architects. Yeah, I prefer project manager. Right? So, all right. So you finish school, have a gerontology thing. What do you do now that you realize you have all these hurdles to jump over for nursing? How was it for you, like, getting a job? And what was that kind of job?
It was definitely tricky in terms of getting a job. And they say, well, there's lots of job opportunities in Canada and stuff like that. But I would kid you not, I applied to a lot of jobs on Indeed, as well as the area where we live has a lot of like medical buildings and stuff. It was to the point where I was going hand delivering resumes to these medical buildings, like basically to do whatever. I understood that, okay, I wasn't licensed as a nurse, But I think, okay, I came with a great deal of knowledge and stuff. I could be whatever, medical assistant, I could be whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I tried, wouldn't get any callbacks or anything like that. So as you mentioned, I finished school in August. I didn't get a job until October. So that was like what, roughly about 2 months or so, just searching, looking, applying, and nothing.
And I want to say that for the job search, that timeline isn't extreme.
Mm.
I think that realistically, people like the job search, like for a proper job, even, but this wasn't necessarily, you weren't being picky, but even the job search process can be 3 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 months isn't bad. Like, of course, you want a job right out of
Yes.
school, especially as an international student and on a 1-year work permit.
Exactly. That was the biggest thing there for me. So because I had in my mind, okay, I needed 1 full year to get the Canadian experience class.
So you didn't know federal skill without opening it back.
I already eat up 2 months out of my 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
So like, where does that put me? You know what I mean? And even when I got the job, it wasn't a knock that would give me the Canadian experience class, and it was only like a little part-time something to, bring in a little bit of income, but nothing what I needed or what would get me the end result.
Mm-hmm.
So the first job that I got, it was as a personal support worker, a PSW, and it was part-time and basically community care. So I would go and I would assist clients in their home with meds, hygiene, whatever it is, companionship, light household duties, things of that sort.
Right.
So not in the profession, but we frequently call them like survival jobs or anything, like once it's out of our field and just to, generate income. Yep. And shortly after that, about a month and a half later, the ending of November, after doing some research, I found that, okay, if I were to work in a daycare as an early child care assistant, the ECA, that would be a knock code B.
Okay.
And that would give me ultimately the job requirements for the Canadian experience class.
Okay.
So I applied to a couple of different daycares as an early child care assistant and ended up getting hired to one very close to home.
Yes.
And that's where I worked from November 2021 up until I got licensed this year, 2023. Yeah.
And then once you got licensed, how easy was it then now to transition into nursing and get a job in nursing?
So it wasn't extremely difficult. The longest parts I would say would be the interview parts, because a lot of places are hiring. So it's all dependent on, the area you want to work, whether it's like bedside nursing, whether it's community. And I struggle with that aspect because back home, it's only like bedside nursing really, and of course you have community, but the different stuff.
What does that mean?
So bedside nursing is like in the hospital.
Yes, I understand that one.
And then community nursing would be like where, okay, I'm a registered nurse, but I go into clients into their home to administer medications, to do dressings, to do whatever it is in the comfort of their homes.
Right.
So finding out what it is that I wanted to do was also tricky. And apart from that, you have different like more admin positions that you can work as a nurse, care coordinators like with the LIN and different stuff like that. So I was in a little bit of a whirlwind trying to figure out like, hey girl, what you gonna do? So ultimately I decided that it would be very beneficial no matter which way I branched out after to get some hospital experience, some bedside experience, get my skills together, because as you guys know, I've been out of the field for a little bit, from 2021 and it's 2023 now. So let me go see what's going on, see what's Canadian healthcare is like, get my skills up to par.
Because in school you wouldn't have gotten that hands-on experience.
Exactly. So so I applied, I would say maybe shortly after I got the license, which would have been in May. So June I started to apply, and it took a bit for me to hear back, but most of the interviews were virtual. So I heard back from the current one in, I would say, mid-June, early July. And once I sent in all the requirements and stuff like that, then they hired. But now I also needed big girl duties again to go on give adequate notice to my current job, which was only 2 weeks, but you know, professionalism and stuff like that to do that. And then with most hospital jobs, they have orientation or like their onboarding process, which can be kind of lengthy.
Yeah.
So even though it was like June or July, I didn't actually start work or like the orientation process until August.
So it took a little while to get a job. A little while is actually, when you're in it, it feels like a little while. But when you're looking back, if it was 2 months to find an okay-ish job, isn't unrealistic, isn't crazy. And for anybody who is like in school right now, you want to start this job hunting process 3 months before school ends, right? To see what's available for you so that maybe you can set something out part-time before school ends, see what is available to you, what's possible. But also, if you can't necessarily apply for a job, start networking, right? So start meeting people in the profession as best you can. Go to job fairs. There's always stuff going on. Go on Eventbrite. Go to like free events or paid events, right? And start networking, because the best thing you can do for yourself is give somebody your resume and say, can you give this into your manager or something like that, right? So 2 months is not unrealistic, right? But in the process, when you're on the watch, we don't have time to not have a job. We want to be hired now, okay? So it took a little while to get into that, but you're finally in nursing and you're back in your profession. It's been 1.5 months-ish, August, September, 2 months almost. Yes. So what's it like?
A lot different from back home. Not terrible, because I mean, with nursing is evidence-based practice. So no matter where in the world you will be, it'll always be a rationale for why you're doing something and for the care that you're providing, you know? So in that aspect, like the management of the patient is pretty standard, pretty similar. But what is different is like the different technologies. Yeah. So just for instance, like back home, our medication, apart from the emergency room in the hospital that I work, was manual pull, where it'd be like pills in a patient's slot, and you just manually pull them and put them into a cup, administered to the patient. But over here, they have the med select. So completely computerized. You go, you type it, you scan your badge, you type in your password, you select the patient, and it'll show you the meds, and you have to like one go, and it'll like open the drawers and tell you, okay, the aspirin is in section A. So you have to take that out. Now, okay, the Tylenol is in another drawer, section B. So like computerized to the T. And also like barcode scanning. So you can't just go and, hey, Christina, here's your morning meds. No. Hi, Christina, my name is Khadidra. So now I have to come to you. I have to scan your ID band, make sure it's the right patient. And now all of those 5 medications that I just selected from the med select, I have to scan each one of them. Scan the aspirin. Okay, that's good. They'll give you a thumbs up. Scan this, scan that, and stuff like that. So just getting used to the technology is a big thing, and still working on navigating that and, you know, getting familiar with it. I would also say in terms of the shifts, because back home I worked 8-hour shifts. The shifts here are 12s.
I saw you going to work the other night, and it was like you're going for the night shift too.
Yes. Yeah. So getting used to the shifts are something else, because it's like 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then the way they do it, so my schedule, I work 4 days, but it's day, night. Whereas back home, you were either on days, evenings, or like nights, but like days and nights didn't really mix. Yeah.
So like your clock should be like way like off.
But what I do like is the flexibility, and whereas back home with the 8-hour shifts, I would only have like 2 days off. But here I work my 4 shifts and I have 6 days off, counting the day when I get off, like the morning off.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like it in that aspect. I would also say like their huddles or their end of shift reports are different. So back home, general setting would be like an open ward. So when the oncoming shift come, we'll all kind of sit around the desk and we'll go to give handover, giving a report of all the patients, what they came in for, what kind of stuff happened. But over here, it's no. So if I'm leaving and you're coming, I'm going to hand over to you, but I'm only telling you about the patient that's you're responsible for. So you don't get like handover and the shift report on the other rest of patients
That's
on
not
the
relevant
unit.
to you.
Yes.
Yeah, makes
And
sense.
yeah, it's because when you have like bigger wards, it's easier that way. They do have rapid rounds where like every member of the interprofessional team is there. So it'll be like the nurses, it'll be the doctors, social work, care coordinator, physiotherapist, occupational therapist, like everybody there. And back home it wasn't like that. We would have doctors rounds, but it'll be like the doctors just go into each bed and like like a nurse would accompany them to make any updates of the changes and stuff. And just like the equipment, the different technologies, the different stuff they use, some more like first class medication that we
Yeah.
didn't have back home, just kind of getting readjusted and relearning those stuff. But it definitely have its differences now.
So that is you, that is work, that is nursing. Now Aja is in school. You can talk briefly about what that was like to get her. Did she go to daycare and then to school, or just when she was 4 she went into school?
Yeah, she just went into school.
So the thing is here is that they have to be 4 in order to go into public school, and they have to turn 4 before the September to go into public school. Getting her into school, finding a school, and just what that process is like. Is public school free?
Yes, public school is free, and your public school will be based on your location. So once you put in your address on whatever the school board is, then it'll tell you what your home school is.
You have to just go to that one.
Yes. So based on that, I applied to the school, and they'll need proof of address, of course. So it could be like a utility bill, it could be anything like that, leasehold agreement. They needed, I think, ID for her, so like a little passport or something was okay, and immunization record is also something. And I believe those were the only 3 requirements, and they registered her. It was seamless, it was easy, it was probably more daunting for me dropping her off and actually leaving her there than the registration process.
Yes.
And here it's a little bit different because back home we would have like, okay, K1, K2 and stuff like that. But here it's junior kindergarten, which is for the 4-year-olds, and then senior kindergarten, which is for the 5-year-olds. And it's typical for it to be a JK-SK split, meaning that they have 2 educators, and they'll have the junior kindergarten and the senior kindergartens in one classroom. And that's how it was for her.
Okay.
So she started junior kindergarten back in September 2021, and she had the same 2 teachers for junior kindergarten and the senior kindergarten.
Okay.
Graduated kindergarten in August of this year. Well,
yes, I remember seeing that.
Of this year, and so now she's in 1st grade.
Did Canada meet your expectations?
It did. But I would definitely say there's been some hurdles and some hiccups along the way. Renting, nobody never tell me or could have never prepared me for rent. And even in terms of other than the cost of renting, to be able to rent. Because as a newcomer to Canada, I don't have no credit. I could show you proof of funds, willing to pay you 6 months upfront and all of that, but that means nothing if you don't have the credit. And remember, at the time I was an international student, so even though I had the funds, I didn't have any active employment, so I couldn't provide any like pay stubs or anything like that. But I could show you that like, okay, I'm a decent human being, I have X amount of dollars in my bank account, like please. And then it's so tricky because most times nobody is willing to give you the chance. And that was for big buildings, that was for
usually that
buildings.
have like property management or basements
as well, because remember this was like 2021, so like right after COVID, and it was a lot of hiccups during COVID when persons were laid off, when landlords weren't able to evict them and stuff like that. So people were going through like with a real fine tooth comb, and that made it so difficult. So difficult.
Interesting.
Yes. And that's one thing I was never prepared for.
Yes. Okay, so just to wrap it up here, is do you see yourself staying in Canada? Like you did all the stuff, you checked all the boxes. Is it your home now? And what do you see or want for yourself in Canada, you and Aja, and even your mom going forward?
The winters can be a little bit brutal, but manageable.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it, honestly.
Yeah.
We have always some little adventure to go on. It's a lot to explore, a lot
Yes.
to see and do.
Mm-hmm. Lots for the kids,
Mhm.
especially.
Very family oriented, which I
Mhm.
love, because whether it's a movie in the park, whether
Yeah.
it's some little festival, some
She's done
pumpkin
way more than
patch.
I have. Way more.
Always out and about, guys, always.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot to do, and I
Mhm.
like to explore. Life is for the living, and stuff can't be all work and no play.
No, and all immigration and no play.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
we definitely try to always find something to do on my off weekends and stuff like that,
Mhm.
on a better quality of life.
Yeah.
Because as a nurse, or even before, like, getting into nursing, I'm making like triple what I was making back home.
Yeah.
The cost of living is high, so that's one downside to it. Rent is high, but I mean, like, all of those things come. It can't be all pros and no cons. So you just gotta kind of balance it out, see what makes sense for you and your family, and what's
Yes.
feasible for you.
Mhm.
And yeah, I love it. Canada is definitely home for now and for a long bit.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that it might be forever, but definitely for the long haul.
This is where it's at.
Yeah, love it.
Yes. And do you foresee kind of getting your mom to stay here somehow?
Oh,
or?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, in terms of her, after I got my permanent residence, I was able to apply for her through family sponsorship. So she currently has an application in now for permanent residence that we put in middle of this year. And Jess, she already did her biometrics, she already did her medical, so just waiting to hear from them in terms of next steps and where do we go from there.
Cool. You see that? So she's jumping over all these hurdles and she's getting it done all by herself. I remember actually running into her mom, and her mom was like, "Are you on YouTube?" So it's kind of like, yeah, that's me. Yep.
Mhm.
So I started writing to your mom. So that's cool. Like you are getting stuff done. Some things took longer than others, but like ultimately you have a good report. You have had a good experience so far. Okay, so that is Khadija's story from the Bahamas.
Oh yeah.
Came to Canada. She did everything on her own. As a nurse, went to school, got her PR, applied for her mother's PR. She has her little mini me here with her in school, getting it done, and she's finally practicing as a nurse and working the midnight oil. But she's fine with that, and I'm happy for you. I'm super proud of you. Like you've checked the boxes. So I hope things continue to go well for you.
Thank you.
But thank you so much for taking the time out. This was really good. This was fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And watch the previous episodes if you have not seen the previous episodes, building up to this one, understanding how it works to become a nurse in Canada, understanding what she did for her permanent residency pathway, and just how she started on her Canadian immigration journey. So if you're watching this episode today, that means those episodes are already out and you can watch the playlist somewhere on the screen here. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe, stick around for more helpful videos like this. Hit the like button, share it, and I will see you in the next video.